I was staying over at my aunt and uncle's house for a few weeks during summer break from college. Even though my cousins were a lot younger than I was, it was actually fun hanging out with them. Since I lived in the city, we didn't really see each other much. Plus, it was my first time staying over at the new house the family had just bought. It was a pretty nice house, but the area was kind of secluded. The house was surrounded by trees, and the unfenced backyard would stretch all the way into the tree line of the forest. As nice and peaceful as it looked sometimes, admittedly, it creeped me out as well. There'd be times that I would look out into the forest and get that feeling like somebody was staring back. Honestly, the area was so vast that somebody could actually camp out there and we wouldn't even know it. One afternoon, when my aunt, uncle, and cousins went to go and run some errands, I decided to stay home and catch up on working out. After taking a shower, I made my way downstairs to the living room to retrieve some exercise equipment. But just as I was in the process of doing so, that's when I heard the sound of the back door by the kitchen begin to burst open. At that moment, my mind and heartbeat started racing. Did somebody just break in? I asked myself. A part of me was so shocked that I must have been in denial, because I thought that there was a possibility that maybe it was just the wind. Also, the family had a large Rottweiler who was kept outside. For sure, I thought to myself. I would have heard him barking if there was an intruder. But any doubt I had went away when I heard the footsteps of what sounded like a large man making his way through the clutter of the kitchen. Right then and there, I knew I had to either run or hide. I figured there was no way I had enough time to escape out the front door, so instead, I decided to hide behind one of the large curtains by the window in the living room. Since the fabric draped all the way down to the floor, it actually did a good job of concealing me. I covered my mouth and did my best to stay quiet as I hid. But as much as I wanted to remove myself from the situation, I could hear everything the intruder was saying. He was opening some of the doors on the first floor. At first, I thought it was because he was looking for valuables. But then a sense of dread came over me when I realized he must have been looking to see if somebody was home. Maybe he was looking to see if I was home. I was hoping that the person would just quickly take some valuables and leave. But if he was dead set on turning the place inside out, then I knew I wasn't safe. There was no telling what he would do when he would find me. Thinking I had no choice, I peeked through one of the creases of the curtain. I knew that if he was coming this way, I had to be ready. It wasn't long until the sounds of the intruder finally made its way to the living room. And that's when I was finally able to see him. As scary as it already is to see an intruder in your house, I was even less prepared for what I saw. The intruder was wearing some kind of camouflage that hunters would wear, but he also had bits of leaves and twigs attached all over his uniform like a ghillie suit. But the most jarring thing about him was the expression on his face. I'll never forget the way his eyes pierced through the camo face paint. He was breathing so hard, with a look of intense focus, like he was determined to find something. Or somebody. Even though I wanted to, it took everything I had not to scream at that moment. After taking a few seconds to scan over the living room, he, surprisingly, moved on. He quickly shot up the flight of stairs and went to look about the next floor. That's when I started to debate with myself about what I was going to do next. I knew that it was just a matter of time before he would check any spots he missed, including the large curtains. But I was so scared, I couldn't even get my legs to move. I thought that, at any moment, if he heard me running, he'd be able to chase me down before I could even reach the neighbor's house. While I was struggling to figure out what to do, I could hear him upstairs, ransacking the place and looking everywhere. That's when I finally found the will to move. But before I could even attempt to come out of hiding, I heard the sound of police cars in the distance. Did somebody see him break in and call the cops? I thought to myself. But I knew that it was unlikely, since the neighbors were too far away to see anything. Regardless, I was just happy to hear the sirens. The intruder must have heard them as well, since the next thing I knew, I saw him running down the stairs and fleeing towards the back of the house. Eventually, I would hear him running away outside. I was relieved that he was finally gone, but that feeling wouldn't last long when the sound of the sirens eventually disappeared into the distance. That's when I realized that the cops weren't actually heading towards our house. They were apparently responding to a totally different incident on the other side of town. The sense of relief that I had quickly changed back into a sense of dread. I knew that if the intruder realized the same thing, that there was a good chance that he'd be coming back. Thinking it was now or never, I came out of my hiding spot. I quickly put on a pair of shoes and bolted out of the front door. I ran in the direction of a neighbor's house as fast as I could. During the whole time I was running, I was scared that, at any moment, the intruder would pop out from behind the tree and grab me. But after a few minutes, I was fortunately able to reach the neighbor's house. The old couple who lived there eventually let me in, and we immediately called the cops after I told them what had happened. Shortly after, the police came and searched the whole area. Shockingly, deep in the woods, behind the backyard, they had found several empty water bottles and protein bar wrappings by a tree. The trash looked like it had been piling up in that one spot for at least a few weeks. The cops had concluded that whoever had broken into the house had been scouting the place out for a while. After being told of the disturbing information, my aunt and uncle quickly got the state-of-the-art security system installed the very next day. Oh, and if you're wondering what happened to their supposedly trusty Rottweiler, the cops had found him preoccupied with gnawing on the bone of an old steak. Apparently that's all it took for the intruder to get past him. When it was all said and done, everybody was just happy no one was hurt. But at the end of the day, I still haven't gotten over it. I'm still going through therapy, and I haven't left the city since. Looking back, it's just so creepy to think that all those times that I've been staring into the woods and gotten that feeling that somebody out there was watching us, it was actually because somebody actually was.